morning, everybody. I toast to you and all you do. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm sorry that it's been a few days since I made a video. We have RSV going through the house, so each kid is now taking their turn with an ear infection, and we had quite the debacle yesterday trying to find the antibiotic. Everybody's out. Went to 4 pharmacies. It's quite ridiculous. But I do have to start this video off with a public service announcement. I think it's something that's important for everybody to know. While I was at the CVS yesterday, I saw a sign. They are selling Narcan, and you can buy it without a prescription. You just have to go to Walgreens or CVS. Both of them will do it. Some insurance companies, the pharmacist told me, will actually cover it. And if not, they have some coupons that you can get through like GoodRx to help you save some money on it. And you can get it between $29 and $50. So I honestly think that it should come in first aid kits, which is sad, but is a harsh reality that we live in. So if you know anyone or are around people who are using drugs of any kind, if you are a parent of a teenager, those kind of things, I think right now we do live in a society where it's something that's important for us to know and to have on hand, unfortunately. So, like I said, you can get that at CVS and at Walgreens. It's not called Narcan there. It's called Naravax, Nara something. But yeah, if you ask the pharmacist there, they can definitely help you out. So, with that public service announcement, it was rough at the pharmacy, not gonna lie. When I saw the sign, and it made me think about my mom, and then I got kind of emotional when I was asking about it, and I could tell that the lady was like, she didn't know, the pharmacist didn't know how to, like, what to say back, like, how to handle that. And so then I was just like, my mom overdosed in September, and she was like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Like, people don't know, like, it's just, we don't talk about it in society, and we don't know how to handle it. We don't know how to handle it when somebody else comes to us with that. So let's not sweep that under the rug. Let's not make that another like issue like pedophilia or rape or incest, like these other really bad things that are happening in our society that we've just swept under the rug because nobody wants to talk about them and nobody knows how to handle that. You know, if you don't know what to say when someone says something like that to you, the correct answer is, I am so sorry to hear that. Like, that's it. That's all you have to say back. It's not hard. You don't have to offer a solution. All you have to say is, I'm sorry to hear that, and be available to hear them talk. So if you need someone to talk to, you can definitely reach out to me through YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, and just, you know, let me know. I'm here to listen, because a lot of times that's all we need is someone to listen. So thanks for listening to me. We have quite a few questions to catch up on. I mean, 4. It's not too many. But before I begin, I just do want to say that skipping these days and having that gap and then coming back and having to make that up brought up that thought in my mind this morning. That's like, oh, you already missed 4 days. What's the point? You might as well just, you know, what's the point? And I was like, well, that's a silly thought. Just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you don't get up and go back and continue. You know, when we stumble, we get back up. And just sorry, I was thinking about the Batman movie. It's not a Disney movie today, at least. But it's just a reminder that sometimes we do stumble. Sometimes we take a break. Sometimes there's a pause. Sometimes there's some stuff that comes up and we just can't get to the things that we said we were going to get to, or do the things that we want to do. And it doesn't have to stop you from completing it at all. It doesn't have to be the end. Just take a break, take a breath, and pick it back up. You know, take that next step, do the next thing. So we have to do several questions today. And if you ever feel like you don't want to wait for me, you can always get the book. on Introspective Journey, the second edition, and fill out the journal for yourself. They're on Amazon. And anyways, so the first question that we have for today is, how often do you speak what's going on in your mind? For me, it was a hard life lesson to learn to not speak everything that's going on in my mind. I am one of those people who has lots of voices in my head, not like crazy voices, but my subconscious is made up of different aspects, I guess. It's a best, whatever. So some of those parts of myself are cavalier and callous and not very nice and very honest, to the point where it's not nice honesty, because there is a point where honesty goes too far. There are some things that just shouldn't be said out loud. You have to teach your kids not to say, hey, that fat person over there, or like point at people and ask questions rudely. It's something that all children do, and they have to learn, and okay, there are some things we just don't say out loud. My daughter yesterday, while we were at one of the pharmacies, did not realize how rude her behavior was, but she was counting. She's like, Mom, I'm going to count and see how long this takes. So she started counting, and then when the lady handed me back the insurance card, she's like, it took 129 seconds, Mom. And so we, I was like, she's not trying to be rude, but it was kind of seen as like, because she's counting, she's timing this person. Luckily she's 5, and I was like, let's count more quietly and try to be polite. But we have to teach that lesson. So some honesty is too much, and so sometimes the things that are in your brain, you just don't say out loud. There's no point in saying it. I teach my children a lot, because they'll say something and I'm like, what was the point of saying that out loud? Like, really, what was your goal when you said those words out loud? They weren't wrong, they weren't a lie, but what was the goal? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I said, well, what it achieved was hurting someone else's feelings. And so if that was your goal, then you succeeded. If your goal is to not hurt people's feelings, just don't say things like that out loud. It's okay. It's not a big deal. And I also see this go to the other extreme, where you have people who don't say what they're thinking. I have gotten into many disputes with friends because I'm like, I know there's something wrong. You're in this weird place, or there's something going on, and they just don't want to say anything. They don't want to say anything. They don't want to say anything, and they just don't say anything. And it probably should be on that list of pet peeves from that question the other day, because I just want you to tell me the truth all the time. I'll tell you the truth. You tell me the truth. Well, I'll just be honest. But it's just not necessarily the healthiest route. So sometimes you want to keep things inside, and other times we need to say things out loud. So how often do you speak what's going on in your mind? Is that a healthy level of openness? Is it not at all open? Are you keeping too much in? Often we'll be, you'll see couples who have issues because, both partners are keeping something in. It reminds me of that song where he puts out the ad and he's like, if you like pina coladas and long walks on the beach, and then the person that responds to his ad is his wife. And so like the whole point of the song is like, maybe you should speak to your partner and say these things that you're wanting and open up about that, instead of, pulling back and seeking it elsewhere, or thinking that you're not going to get that from your partner. If you just ask, or you just say something, a lot of times we'll get the things that we need. You have to ask, you have to communicate. So where on that spectrum are you lying? And it isn't black and white, like all the time you're too honest, or all the time you don't say enough. Think about the different aspects. Think about different relationships that you're in. I have some relationships where it is very, very honest. I've got a dear friend, and if I need an honest opinion, I call her, and then she'll tell me. she is also the first person to just like, hey, you hurt my feelings and now I'm mad at you. And that's great. It's a good thing. But so you have to, think about the different aspects of yourself. Are you quiet at work? Are you too honest at home? Vice versa. What roles do you take on and how much do you speak your truth? And speak what's going on in your mind. And kind of begin to understand that balance and see where ideally you would like to sit. I mean, ideally we would all like to have open, honest, healthy conversations and communications that are approached with love and openness and understanding, curiosity, all of those things. So is your communication nurturing that environment? All right, so the next question. When have you been the most scared in your life and why? So, fear is one of those motivating factors in our life that can be very beneficial or very not beneficial. We talk in magic a lot about how fear is your enemy. Fear and doubt in magic are very much so your enemy. They are the things that hold you back. They are the things that will tinker with your spells in ways that you don't want them to. They can, even when you're doing, like guided meditations or vision works, vision journeys, things of that nature, fear is a big thing. It can also motivate you to do better. It can also motivate you to make the right choice, to stand up and be strong, to be brave, to be courageous, and all of those great strengths that we look for in like heroes and in ourselves, and to be that better person. So when you start to think about when you've been the most scared in your life, so we have some fears that are very rational. One of my most fearful moments was driving to my mom's office and to clean up after she passed away, and just not knowing what to expect, and that anticipation of not knowing what I was going to walk into this space, and am I going to be able to handle this? Like, it was scary. It was a scary moment. Another one was more emotional, and just not knowing if the choice that I had made was going to lead to the right thing. And so these kind of fears, these are things that aren't going to happen very often. Obviously, you're not going to often come across a deceased parent. And she wasn't there when I went to clean up, just to be clear about that. But it was just that kind of weird, like, I don't know how I'm going to handle this. As a child, I was very necrophobic, like to the point where I would not be able to drive past graveyards because I would like have a panic attack, like really bad, not healthy. But it wasn't the same kind of fear. That was definitely an irrational fear, phobia. And so when you start to think about the times that you've been most scared in your life, are they because of things like a phobia? Spiders. I got a friend who's arachnophobic. Oh my goodness. We drove to Colorado Springs. I had another friend who had a tarantula, and their cats were harassing the tarantula to the point where the tarantula was losing her hair. She was so stressed out, and they didn't want the tarantula to die, so I went down there to rescue the tarantula. So I brought my friend who is very arachnophobic, and I just wasn't going to say anything to her. Like, it's in a little terrarium. She won't even notice. It'll be fine. So we go down there. We're hanging out. We load up the spider, no problem. We get it in the car. It's covered, for the spider's benefit, but also for her benefit. And so we have it all covered. Everything is, going well. And we're driving back up. And along our drive, she had to get something out of her backpack in the very back of the car. So she climbs over the aquarium, terrarium, whatever, the little thing, and she's reaching back there, and she's like, "What is this?" I said, "Oh, don't lift the towel up. Just grab it and come back." She said, "What do you mean, don't lift the towel up?" And then somebody else in the car was like, "There's a spider in there." She jumps over the seats, ends up in the center console, like terrified. Oh my god, we're all laughing so hard. She's probably still mad at me for this. I love you if you're watching this. I'm sorry. We didn't mean to be mean. We just saved the tarantula. So, I'm gonna laugh if she watches this, and then she's like, that is one of the most scary moments in my whole life. I'm sorry. But, so when you start to think about your fears, are they like rational, real fears? You know, like I went into the forest and there was a bear and it was scary, and it was really scary, and it flight or flighted me, and I got this, you know, I got her done. Or is it something that's more of a phobia? And are they, you know, so is your fear rational and healthy and productive? And then, you know, if you have big fears, like when I was necrophobic, it was really bad. I really wouldn't go near graveyards. I would drive out of the way. I didn't go to several funerals. I couldn't handle it. And so it took a long time to kind of get over that. And actually, it took going to New Orleans, and they have all of those amazing graveyards. And the person I went with wanted to take pictures of them. And so to be supportive, I was like, okay, but I'm going to just stay in the parking lot. I'm not going in. And so the first couple ones, that's what I did. And then I got out of the car, and then I just started to think about, like, why am I really fearful of this? What is it that is causing me to just, and it is the energy that a graveyard gives off. And I just couldn't process that energy in a healthy way. It just automatically triggered my anxiety and like sent me into like irrational heart palpitation, panic attack. And so I just had to slowly work it up. And so then there's a funny picture of me, and there's a fence, and on the other side of the fence is the graveyard, and I'm standing there and I'm like, look, I'm this close to the graveyard, and it's very exciting. And then we went to one where all, you know, because they have to have them above ground. So they have these beautiful, ornate structures, and they're amazing. So we were walking, I actually went in through one, and it was amazing. I think that it helped because the energy at these graveyards is so well traveled. They're so used to having participants, like people walk through there, and they honor these places, and they have their festivals and their parades that go through a lot of these graveyards, and so they're very traveled. So it's not like the other day when I made the video in the graveyard, there was nobody else. I mean, there was like one or two other people in the graveyard, and it was like in itself just kind of an eerie place because there's nobody there. And so now I don't have a problem because I just kind of worked through that. And the way to work through that is to show yourself that you will survive. No matter what your fear is, you take baby steps, one small thing at a time, and show yourself that you will survive. My sister and I talk about it a lot. She is a trained therapist, psychologist, whatever. I don't know what the end of her word is, but she went to school for that. So we talk about her not being scared of snakes anymore, and she's like, I'm not willing to do it, but if we were, we would start out, and we would go see the snake, and it would be over there, and then we would get closer to it and closer to it and closer to it until I was able to hold a snake. And that's kind of the same thing I did with the graveyards and all dead things. I really had to get over it when I moved out onto the farm because there are dead things everywhere. I mean, dead mice, dead birds, dead bunnies. I mean, it's gross, and you just have to deal with that. And so when I was living on my own, I had 2 dogs that were constantly killing bunnies, and so I would have to clean this up and deal with it so that there weren't like, I had a little mutt that was just mixed with all the perfect dogs to catch bunnies, and she looked like a little fox, and she would get them. But I had to very quickly become okay with dealing with dead things. And so that just became the norm. And okay, I can do this. It's not a big deal. And you just move past that. And so when you think about what has scared you and what scares you most, again, think about, are these rational fears? Are these productive fears? Are they helping to motivate you to do the right thing? And if they're not, what are some things that you can do to start to overcome that and to be able to move forward with those? Yeah, There's lots of help out there for, like, if you have phobias and you need to work with them. But again, it just takes one step at a time. If you are scared of spiders, just look at the spider from across the room and have somebody take it outside. Mist it with water instead of killing it so that it runs away. I just love spiders, so I try to really help people not be scared of them. They're not scary. They're really fascinating small little creatures that kill bad bugs that you don't want in your house. They eat the pincher bugs and the mosquitoes and the ants and all of those things that we're like, oh, I can't have these bugs. Spiders kill them. They're your friend. So think about it like that. Just try to find more productive ways to deal with it. So the next question is, what is a small decision that ended up changing your life? So me, this one's really fun because I had a blind date scheduled and then it canceled, and then I met my husband online. I was like, I'm gonna go onto one of those dating websites and talk to somebody, and I ended up meeting my husband, and but it was just like it was a small thing, like not a big deal, and then it ended up being my husband, and we've been married for 13 years now and have 3 children, and it's amazing. And sometimes it is just the smallest decisions that can change a lot. You know, I took this left and I missed the accident, or I got into the accident. Just small little things. And then how they affect the big picture. And this is just that reminder that every ripple, every drop in the bucket, every drop in the ocean ripples out and can become these big things. And we just never know which one it's going to be. So that one's pretty easy. It's just kind of a fun thing to think about and to then process, like, how these small things can cause big changes. And in that reminds us that making that small change can then make these big changes. You know, when I talk to people about nutrition and diet and healthy weight, and, you know, I plateaued and I just can't whatever, or I yo-yo and I just can't lose the weight. And we talk about what is one small change that you can make that makes a huge difference. For most people, cutting out soda makes a humongous difference in their diet. And it's a small thing, and you just change from soda to something else. I recommend tea, not sweet tea, but just normal tea, or like flavored citrus waters, like soda waters, just because they don't have the sugar. They still have the carbonation. There's other things that you can do to substitute that, but it's a small change, and that small change can then make big changes later on. I've worked with people who cut out soda and lost 20 pounds and can keep it off and maintain it, and they didn't have to change their lifestyle. They didn't have to do a bunch of other stuff. They just cut out soda. And it doesn't work that way for everyone, because there are, you know, people have different things in their diet that are causing them to feel the way they feel and have the weight they have and all of that stuff. But what are those small changes? And it works with everything throughout your life. You know, waking up 10 minutes earlier in the morning makes a big difference for a lot of people, but it's just a small, minute thing. What are those small changes that you can make? All right. And then the last question for today, which ironically was kind of challenging for me. What are 3 fun, unique facts about yourself? And this is just the opportunity to kind of think about yourself and about the things that you enjoy. And, you know, if you were to, you know, go out and share yourself, what are 3 fun things that you would share with other people? And so my 2 that I could think of, because I am just not good at this, and we're going to get to that in a minute, but my 2 are, I really enjoy working with my hands. No matter what it is, I like working with my hands, be it mechanical or in the garden or in the kitchen or even cleaning. I do not like to have idle hands. And so I really have that go get her done, and let's, you know, roll up your sleeves. And I love that. And then the other one is that I love teaching. I love encouraging creativity, not only in my, like, other people, but in myself, and learning something new, teaching other people that I watched a 3-hour podcast yesterday about the devastation that happened 12,000 years ago on the planet that completely changed the face of the earth, like literally, and sea level rose hundreds of feet, and water flooded North America, and like amazing. Wiping out like pre-modern people, completely gone. It's fascinating. But I would love to tell you all about that. We could talk about that for hours, but not right now. If you're interested, it was a Joe Rogan podcast with Grant and what is the other guy's last name? I can't remember, but they are amazing scientists and an author, and it's great. But I really enjoy just learning and teaching and encouraging that creativity and getting it out there and then doing something with it. And then I had thought of a third thing, and then I couldn't get to the pen fast enough to write it down, and I forgot it. But it just brings up this interesting point about myself, and I guess this is the third thing, is that I am just that focused on helping other people or what my goals are. I'm very driven to the point where I don't think about myself. I just go, which wraps around to a quote from a very fantastic person from the Covenant of the River, which is a church in Fort Collins. Amazing people over there. But Jean always says, you cannot give if your cup is empty. And I had never heard this before I had met them. I had never even pondered it in that way. And so it's a very reflective thing for me to remind myself. So when I come to questions like this that are like, well, think about yourself. What is a good thing about yourself, or what is something that you're sharing? I have to remind myself that sometimes you need to stop and you need to think about self. You need to fill up your cup. You need to, and so that you can then be better to give for other people. So my giving, motivated nature is both a blessing and a curse. And it's one of those things, just like a lot. You have to find a balance. There is no always this way and never that way. It's not like that. You have to be able to find balance. And several of the questions today kind of point towards finding that balance. And, between internal and external, and wants and desires and needs, and what you're doing and what you want to be doing. There's just you have to find that balance. And so as you think about all of these questions and you ponder through your introspective journey, keep that balance of perspective in mind and think about knowing when you've gone too far and being able to pull back, or when you've pulled back too much and you need to step forward more. Think about, your integrity and your honesty and who it is that you want to be and what this ideal person is and how you achieve that balance in order to maintain that, and what small changes that you can make. It doesn't have to be I'm changing my whole life. Yes, some people need to change their whole life, and it starts with one thing at a time. So, as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. Just one more time for review, the questions today are, how often do you speak what's going on your mind? When have you been the most scared and why? What is a small decision that ended up changing your life? What are 3 fun and unique facts about yourself? And if you want to share your facts about yourself below, I'd love to hear them. As always, I love hearing from everybody, and I hope that you have a fantastic day and that the sickness stays out of your house. Many blessings, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow.